Hello everyone, evening here. Once again, I'm super excited. I just posted a video showing all of Evening's story characters. Well, at least most of the main characters, and I'm super excited. You can definitely tell because I'm definitely moving the character the right way. But a while back, not really a while back, but a little bit ago, I made a video about one of my OCs named Akari, and in that video, I mentioned Naomi, his mate, Naomi. And this is the best I could do for Naomi in Wcue. Sorry. This is the best I could do in Wcue because, in that thing I mentioned, I would probably, or if you guys wanted me to, I'd make a video about Naomi and I'd explain her kind of like the same way I did with Akari. And today I decided, you know what, I'm going to do it anyway, even if you guys didn't ask for it, because I wanted to talk about Naomi. She's one of my favorite characters other than Akari and Casper and Chrono. I know I made Chrono an evil guy, but he deserves some love too, okay? The love that Naomi couldn't give him because it just didn't work out apparently. But I can't blame Naomi. I made him a character that was really entitled and rude, and warning, there might be a little bit of mentions of abuse and SA. So if you are sensitive to those topics, I'm just gonna say, please get off the video because I don't want to scare you or be mean to you because I'm not like that. Anyway, don't mind the RP going on around me, guys. I didn't want to interrupt the RP by walking around, but I did anyway. Apologies to the people doing the RP. But anyway, Naomi's story. First off, a review. Who is Naomi? Naomi is one of the cats in Akari's life. As a review, Akari is an experimentation cat, again, not based on Corrine, however you pronounce their name, and their little series about Enki and Isla and so on. Anyway, why did I pause? I don't know. But Naomi is Akari's mate, and I'm going to be going over their overall, kind of just like Akari. He's going to be mentioned, but not as much as his story got mentioned. And that's going to be similar to Naomi. Naomi's story is going to be the main thing, or a brief story on Naomi is going to be mentioned. And then later on in the thing, there's going to be mentions of Akari. Because at that point, when they met, Akari and Naomi were 4, 5 years old, maybe. So they were decently old. They were full grown. They were adults now, and they didn't meet each other till later on. But anyway. First off, is Naomi a good cat or a bad cat? Naomi was supposed to be part of the Rebels group, so originally she was supposed to be a bad cat. But I decided, you know what, she needs a little bit more depth. She needs to be a diva. Don't mind why I said that, my cousin dared me to. But anyway, she needs to be a character that's really fun, really cute, and also really has a lot of depth in the story and everything else. So I whipped up Naomi as to be one of the characters that Akari actually bonds with, and I didn't originally plan for her to be his mate. Akari was never really supposed to have a mate, until I realized Akari never bonds with anyone other than his, group of, 5, maybe, 4 friends back then. And now 5 because of his wonderful mate, Naomi. But before then, it was only 9. He had only bonded with those 4 cats before, and everybody thought he'd just stay alone for the rest of his life, and honestly, he did not mind that fact. Until Naomi came along, and she was just like, hey, what's up? My name's Naomi. We're friends now. So Naomi's original character line in the story was supposed to be Chrono's mate. She didn't mind how Chrono treated her, or how he acted. They would have multiple litters together, and eventually she'd be the one to kill Akari and overpower him and take over their the experimentation center. Sorry, my mind blinked for a second there. But anyway, But then, as Naomi started to be developed, she kind of grew on me. I decided Naomi's actual name isn't evil. If you look up the meaning of Naomi, there are quite a few different name meanings for her name. But I took the name, and it primarily means beauty and strength and like resilience mainly. And I thought, sure, she can be beautiful, resilient, and strong and still be a villain. But I decided that's not a good thing for a beautiful and resilient cat. She's supposed to be a cat that is loved and cherished by Chrono. And to be loved and cherished by Chrono, you still have to have a good side. Because Chrono's like that too, apparently, somehow. So, basically, it was solely supposed to be a way for Chrono to have someone to connect to that the group would use against Chrono. But instead, she betrayed Chrono, and that was a way to use against Akari, who was never mainly supposed to have a mate. But then she grew on me, and I decided if she was bonding with Akari this closely, like the original plan that Chrono had her do, she would probably get close to him as well, because Naomi's just that type of character. So later on, I knew that they were going to be destined to become mates eventually. So I made them mates later down the line. I think they became mates when they were like maybe a year or so after knowing each other. But through that year, they got to know each other a lot better than most cats thought they did. Originally, people thought that he just got with Naomi to get to Chrono, but that was wrong. She was actually supposed to get with him to get to Akari, so Chrono could come after them or something. I did not have that plan fully developed when I decided that she was going to be a good guy now. Sorry, I'm fumbling in Wcue right now. Anyway, I did not have it decided that she was going to be a good or bad cat. She was originally just supposed to be Naomi. She was supposed to be a villain accomplice, I guess you could say. But she grew on me, and then she got her story. But where does Naomi's story begin? Naomi was born to her sister and her brother, to her mother with a sister and a brother. Her mother's name is unknown, but her siblings are named Cedar and Fennel. Fennel and Cedar are very loyal to Chrono, so didn't understand that why their sister actually fell for Akari and joined with the enemy. But slowly, in the storyline that I have cooking up for them, I decided, you know what, her family is going to realize that she's happy here, and if she's happy here, then they could be happy there too. So they eventually joined. She's very happy about that factor, because she really missed her family. And anyway, back to Akari's main story. Again, she was born to her mother, who is unknown, and her sister, Fennel, and her brother, Cedar. Cedar and Fennel and Naomi were extremely, extremely close. Like, to the point where you could not get them to go apart from each other. Naomi grew up a very happy kitten, and when she became part of the rebels, which she was around, I think, 8 moons old at the time, she was a little bit unsure about the things that happened in their little area. And the experimentation center, oh my god. So she decided to join the rebels. After joining the rebels, Naomi became close with Chrono, because Chrono thought she was a very pretty she-cat, and she could further his legacy. Classically, just because of her looks, but slowly but surely, they actually became kind of close. Chrono was never close with Naomi, but Naomi came decently close with him. Naomi had a bad feeling about him from a little bit from the start. He had never bothered to get to know any of her wants or needs. He had just said that Naomi was supposed to be with him, and that was end of discussion. She didn't know what that meant at the time, but over time she did realize that she was just a pawn in his game. Though throughout this time, she became a little bit more content with the fact that she was realistically just a pawn for him. Originally, she was not supposed to be this pawn in his world, but I decided later on that she isn't a cat of confrontation. She doesn't like confrontation, and through this, she never got to the part of confronting Chrono about his crimes. He was extremely uncaring towards her, and she slowly realized that He didn't care for her at all. His only interest was to gain power, and she did not appreciate that. She felt like a pawn in his game for the second time now, me saying that. And that did not please her. She wanted a life where she could be cherished, and she could actually be nice, and she could actually be known for who she was. But with Chrono, she could never be that. Everybody thought that they were the cutest little couple ever. That Chrono could do no wrong, and originally she kind of started thinking that she was the problem. That she was the one being stupid about this, and that Chrono only had the best of interest for their group in mind. But slowly she realized that that mindset was just bringing her farther into Chrono's plan. Chrono wanted her to think like this. Chrono wanted her to be clueless to everything he had planned, so he could use her weaknesses against her. He got close to her just for that reason. To get close to her so he could use that against her, which was something she did not appreciate from Chrono. She thought Chrono was being insensible, and that he was being really rude to the people that supposedly cared about him. She did care about him, she really did, but she didn't feel like he was being a good person when he was doing this. It really hurt her to see what he was doing to everybody else. He was being so nice to everyone but her. He cherished everyone's skills but hers, didn't even let her go out of his sight for more than a couple minutes, which is something she didn't appreciate either. She wanted to go out. She wanted to be the cat that she was originally, the cat that was always able to run around, play, and hang out with her siblings to the fullest of her wants and contents. But over time, he didn't let her. He felt it was wrong to have his mate wandering around when he would need her for his own actual embasement. And when I mean embasement, it's not an actual word. It's a word that I made, which pretty much means to his own benefit. He wanted her to be a cat that he could go to if he absolutely needed it, and that he never had to wait for her to be there. That she would always be there, no matter what the scenario was. Which is something that she didn't like. She wanted to be a cat that would honestly be there for him, sure, but she didn't want to be a cat for him to use. She wanted to be a cat that could be used for her own skills and strengths, not a cat that could be used for Chrono's betterment. Which is something Chrono didn't respect at all. He thought of Naomi, but nothing more than a fun fling that he could use to his own benefit. That she was a pawn in his game, as I've said multiple times. Over time, she became a little bit more knowing of this factor, and became a little bit more determined to prove that she wasn't just something to be used like that she could be valued for her own strengths and weaknesses, even if those weaknesses brought her down occasionally. But Chrono saw that as a sign that she was being disloyal to him. From this, he decided that she was to limit her even more. She couldn't go out without the supervision of somebody, which contained her even more. She hates being contained. I know I have never mentioned that, but she very much does hate being contained. She doesn't like being in somebody's life and not be able to go out and do her own thing. She feels she was extremely blessed to just be in the world, and that it's completely wrong to keep her from being what she wants to be. But Chrono doesn't believe that. Chrono believes all she-cats are born for a purpose to serve the toms that choose them. So when Naomi became even more defensive over herself, he began to think that she was going to leave him, and that she was the only one with a strong enough and pretty enough bloodline to bring him the offspring that he wanted. This is the time that SA is mentioned, so just a warning. SA is mentioned for the next couple things, and if you don't know what SA means, I will leave it down in the description. If you don't. So if you do not know what SA means, I recommend going down to the description and looking of what it means. So Chrono basically decided that she was not going to want to be with him anymore, and that he needed to take things for his own benefit and his own world. So over time, decided he had to take the first step. He started getting oddly close to her, and she wasn't very comfortable with it. She was extremely uncomfortable with it and didn't want to be his pawn, didn't want to be anything to him. But over time, it became even more unable to be solved. She kept getting away from him every time he tried to do something, which angered him even more. He decided that from that moment forward, she was just something that he could use. She lost her spirit, she lost her spark, the thing that made her her, over time, because he was being so controlling. She became monotoned and more closed off, and just went along with anything he had planned. Chrono actually started to think of this as she was submitting to his dominance, in a way. So he started to treat Naomi even worse, thinking that she would never do anything, but Naomi eventually got fed up. She started to lash out at him whenever he did something that she didn't consent to, or if she fought back. Chrono knows that that's a sign that she does not want to be involved, that she wants her space, and that she doesn't mind what he's doing, but she doesn't want to do it right now. And Chrono knew this. She warned him about it before they officialized their relationship, and he swore that he understood completely and that he would treat her like a princess when it came to those moments. He did not treat her like a princess at all. He treated her like a pawn, which is something that she absolutely hated. She, again, did not want to be somebody else's play toy. And he did not respect this enough. And eventually, her lashing out got even worse. She started to lash out even more, which just made Chrono even more upset. He thought of her as nothing more than a toy that he could use to his own advantage, something that he could use for his own benefit, something to get his anger out, something to get his needs out. And one of those needs, he needed an heir to take over his rank in the clan group, whatever, in the rebels group. And to that, he needed a mate. And he chose Naomi, and she was beginning to be a little bit more feisty and a little bit more unwilling. Through this, he did get her to having kids. But through everything he did to her, through all of the, warning, this is just normal abuse now. Yeah. That's just a warning. Anyway. He started to be a lot more physical with her, scratching her, shoving her up against the floor, pushing her into things, hitting her, bruising her. Things that Naomi knew weren't right. She did actually care for him and thought that this was just all a phase and he'd apologize eventually, and that he'd become the cat that she originally fell for. But over time, he decided that wasn't going to happen and continued his little thoughts and beliefs for a long time. And eventually, she got so fed up with it. Through all of the abuse, she lost about 3 litters. And she did not consent to having those litters either. The first time he ever got her care expecting, she was only a year old and knew that she couldn't handle that. So, through all of the physical abuse, the kittens were lost and were never born, and that's what happened with 3 of her other litters. She eventually decided she had enough, and when a plan came up that she was going to try and get into the experimentation center and get close with Akari, the leader. She knew who Akari was. She heard stories about him. She thought he would be a little bit more reserved and rough with her, but when she first got in, it was her first training session. She met him, and he didn't fit the picture that Chrono gave her. He looked a lot more welcoming, but a lot more stern. He wasn't rude or worse than stuff was in the rebel group. And over time, she did learn that. Her first training session, he was mainly joking around with her, giving her tips that she didn't know about. She was very glad. They eventually started joking around with each other. Akari gained a little bit of a liking to her, or an interest, more like. She noticed this when Akari would stop by and usually just say hi to the other cats. And with her and with his friends, he would be a lot more welcoming, rounded out, joking around, playful, and everything else that many cats are with their friends. And with her, he actually engaged in conversations. She realized that she was gaining on him quicker than she thought, and that Chrono's plan wouldn't work out now. She tried to tell Chrono, but he just told her to keep going at the rate she was going, which is something she didn't like. Eventually, she actually started to like Akari even more as a friend in the beginning, and nothing more. Over time, Akari started to talk to her more, and Casper welcomed Naomi into the friend group. She became close with every single one of them, learning everything about them. Learning all of their powers, learning all of their quirks, and all of the things that they did. She became a well-respected cat within her community, winning fights, getting her 3rd rank, and so on and so forth. She would constantly visit the rebels and update Chrono, and Chrono would congratulate her and thought of this as he was getting stronger and eventually would need an heir. He tried again to get onto her, but she then decided that she had enough. She wasn't going to be there anymore. She'd stay permanently with the experimentation lab. So she pushed him away and ran off. She had gained a power from being at the experimentation lab, as many of the rebels had. And one of these powers was that she had the power to control galaxy. And when I say galaxy, I mean she can, take things out of outer space and use them for her advantage. Since outer space in this world doesn't really tire out or run out, she can use it as much as she needs to. And when I say as much as she needs to, I mean she can literally move her paw and a piece of the frickin' galaxy space, whatever you want to call it, comes into her paw. And that is actually extremely dangerous. Since there's no gravity in space, because it's out of the gravity zone, there's a lot more stuff that happens. Gravity can get really dangerous, and Chrono knows she has the power. She used it to her advantage. She floated around galaxies and to get away from him, and to use that to her advantage. She started out normal, here and there, going out of dimensions, going out of her way to do the things that she knew she needed to do to get away from Chrono. Chrono wasn't gonna give up easily. She knew that. So she started to take things a little bit more seriously. And she took places out of the galaxies, or she traveled between galaxies. She made sure that the portals and the entrances to the galaxies were all closed and sealed, so she can travel peacefully. Throughout the time of her switching between galaxies to escape Chrono, she eventually came across a galaxy that led to the experimentation center. When she entered, she was welcomed with full open arms. She quickly closed the entrance, making the cats have to travel all the way from the rebels' camp all the way to the experimentation center. When Akari saw her after the training session that he held with one of the new cats that just had joined, he ran over to see if she was okay. She was injured. They had caught up to her a few times and scratched her, trying to pull her back. She was bruised and injured at the same time, making it even worse. She had to spend some time in the inside of the experimentation center getting medical help, which is something that she didn't appreciate. She thought of it really rude and just wanted to get back into the world that she knew. She wanted to go back to being the cat that was well respected and loved. Of course she was still that cat, but not in the same way. She didn't know what to do with her life. She just wanted to be a little bit more indifferent. She wanted to be a little bit better. She wanted to get free from everything. So eventually she stayed in there for a while, telling the scientist she just needed space from everything, as the scientist had gained a liking to her as well. Eventually, over time, she started to grow on everyone. She became a very trusted member, and even with her rank, she became more respected than she was feared, which is something she really liked. She became closer with every one of her friends in her own way, even gaining the trust and respect of Akari, which is something that not many cats get. Just their little group of 5 friends. She eventually started to develop a little bit of a crush on Akari through all of their hangouts, and through the fact that she did realize that he kind of liked her too. She was very excited about this. She wanted something. She wanted to be closer to him, but she would only take it as far or as fast as he wanted to go. She really liked the fact that Akari took it her pace as well. It wasn't just her taking his pace, it was him taking it her pace. When they got closer and closer, and things started to look up for them both, they decided to become mates. After becoming mates, eventually, they managed to have Naomi expecting. As I mentioned in the video with Akari, she was put on a strict no fighting, no physical movement that could make her possibly get hurt. I don't mean she can't walk around or visit other cats. I mean she straight up couldn't do anything that could possibly hurt her. Which is respectable because Akari was extremely protective over her. She took it as a very caring sign, as nobody had ever treated her like that before. She didn't mind being confined, actually. She preferred staying in. When the kids were finally able to be born, the scientist was ecstatic. He had finally had a good area to start. The little kittens were born, and they are still unnamed. I have not figured out specific names for them yet. If you have any suggestions, I will put posts of both of them. At first, I'll probably just make a post with, like, one of their pictures and then another one of their pictures. Or heck, maybe I'll just use a sheet where there's two cats. I don't know. Again, I'm not going to show my art yet because I don't want to, and I'm not confident enough for that yet. So I'm just going to stay with the chill fact that I'm not comfortable with it, and I'm going to continue using free bases and crediting the artists, because that's what most people do when they're uncomfortable with it. Anyway, I'm getting pretty close to my usual ending time, so I'm going to finish this up. After the kids finally turned day moons and she was allowed to go back, there was a huge fight with Chrono. As I mentioned, the kids were still young at the time where the huge fight where Chrono got killed. Chrono had cornered her, saying that she had betrayed him and actually conceived a litter of kits that weren't his, and took it as a fact that these were his heirs, as he was her first mate. She strictly told him that this was not true, and that these were her and Akari's kits and nobody else's. He tried to grab her and even grab the little Tom, but Akari stepped in, shoving him away. Naomi tried to stop Akari because she didn't want Chrono to get hurt. Even if Chrono hadn't been the best to her, she still did care for him a little bit. Akari reluctantly listened and let him go with a warning, but Chrono didn't take the warning. He tackled Akari to the ground and as this is taken as a challenge, Naomi couldn't do anything, and she didn't honestly care anymore. Chrono had started the attack, so did ask for retaliation in a way. Over a little while, Akari won, and Chrono didn't give up easily, though. He ended up trying to go for Naomi's throat, and Akari took the blow for her, but not before being able to claw Chrono's throat. He didn't meet in return. Akari didn't mean to kill him, as was Naomi did ask if he truly did mean to kill Chrono. He didn't, according to Akari, and she completely trusts him, so it was fine. But Akari was, by her and the scientist and his friends, given a strict schedule of recovery. Akari is recovered now, and in the current timeline, that was about 2 weeks ago, so that's all I have on them right now. If you want more information on both of them, I recommend waiting for their love story to come out. I'm gonna make a little, It's gonna be in Wcue because I'm not confident enough to make the animatic thingy yet. So it's probably just gonna be in the kitchen area of the two-leg house, because that kind of does look similar in a way. And it'll just be a simple thing where it's well, this is their love story. This is how they became lovers. This is where they are now, and so on. There'll be music in the background, of course, but anyway. I am reaching my limit, so I'm going to have to go ahead and say that this is the end of my video on Naomi and her little bit of backstory. Naomi's backstory is a lot more detailed than this because I've made it over time, and if you want to hear that, I will put that. These are just breakdowns of the characters. If you want breakdowns of Akari's little characters and Naomi and Akari's friends and their kits, if you have any name suggestions, again, please leave them in the comments of the post that I'm going to make sooner or later. But anyway, I'm going to have to say goodbye now. So this is evening saying goodbye, everyone. I truly do hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope to make more content about Akari and Naomi and everything else. Bye!